Picture this. You're planning your dream vacation. 2 weeks of luxury, 5-star hotels, private excursions, first-class flights. But as the itinerary starts to come together, that cost is climbing. So your travel advisor steps in. She swaps the first-class flights for business, since it's really only a few-hour flight, recommends a boutique resort with even better views, and replaces a 2-hour pricey private tour with a curated small group experience that is a full-day excursion. The result? A smarter itinerary that still feels indulgent, just better aligned with what matters most to you and what you've saved up for your trip. That's exactly what value engineering does when designing a custom home. It's not about cutting corners. It's about designing smarter. And today, we're going to be your travel agent, guiding you through how this critical step in the custom design and build process can take your dream home to the next level.
Welcome to the Art of Custom. Today, we are digging into the value engineering process and how we guide clients through the process in the mountains of Park City and the suburbs of St. Louis. You'll hear how we approach simplifying design and selecting materials to help clients make intentional, informed decisions early in the process to save money and improve the value of your home. Enjoy!
The value engineering process is one of the most important steps in the pre-construction phase and is a key part of aligning your design vision with your budget goals without sacrificing quality or lifestyle. And today, we'll be sharing insights on how we approach that in Park City, and we're bringing back a voice familiar to the podcast, Chris Pedigo, who handles the value engineering process for all of our St. Louis clients. Okay, Chris, the pressure is on. We're talking value engineering.
Yes, sir. That's my forte. My goal on every one of our projects is to help the client get the most bang for their buck without sacrificing quality and make educated decisions when it comes to the design, to the value engineering process.
It is harder in this day and age because construction prices continue to sneak up. We truly thought, as of a year ago, that prices had kind of leveled out and really hadn't moved much. But some of the recent projects that are coming back in the St. Louis market, not Park City, but some of the prices that have come back in the St. Louis market, they're higher than we expected. So you've been doing a lot more value engineering in this market than we've had to do in Park City.
Yeah, that's correct. And it is a challenge on every build. It's a welcome challenge. It's part of what we do to help our clients do their very best. It's definitely something where we have to prioritize and we have to consider each and every aspect of the build and really dig deep to make sure that we're making smart decisions as we design the homes.
During the pandemic, we had those huge price spikes. Now it's kind of these small creeping price spikes. Everybody's seeing in groceries and things like that too. So tell me what value engineering means in normal people's terms, not builders' terms.
Right. It's a multifaceted phrase, in my opinion. So there are a couple of different areas where you can value engineer. So part of it is we are wanting to maximize our budget money and, get the most bang for our buck, if you will, out of that budget. So part of it is making sure that as you design the home, that there are not more efficient ways to either design the home or more efficient ways to frame the home without compromising the finished product. That's the hard part about it, is you don't want to cut to where you take the wow factor out of the house, but you have to take every single aspect and make sure that you're spending smart money, is the way I like to look at it.
So Melody's done a good job during this season about having kind of back and forth little games. And she has one written here. I want to find out if this is a myth or reality when we're talking about value engineering. Myth or reality? Sacrificing quality or cutting corners?
That is a myth. Now, part of it is cost savings, yes, but the focus of this is to save that money without sacrificing that quality or that bottom line. And it's a double-edged sword here, if you will, because you don't want to sacrifice the quality, but you also don't want to do so much that you sacrifice. I mean, people are building a custom home to get that wow factor. So at some level, you do have to prioritize, and there are going to have to be choices to be made. There's not very many clients out there that just have an unlimited budget. So there are times where you're going to have to prioritize, but it is a process of coming together and finding a happy medium between that budget and the finishes.
So you were correct. It is a myth. It is not sacrificing quality or cutting corners. Okay, here's number 2, myth or reality. Is it about smart building, budget alignment, making the best choices to get the most out of your budget without losing the things that matter most to you?
Exactly. So that's a fact.
That's a reality.
Yes, sir.
Nice job writing this, Melody.
you.
So who really is involved in the value engineering process, Chris?
It's actually kind of a 4-part process there. So we are involved as the builder. We are working on this through design and lot design. And so you have your architect and your civil engineer involved in that process. And through that process, we also involve our designers at times when it does come down to some of the actual interior finishes and exterior finishes and that they're involved with. And of course, the homeowner. It's a group effort.
From the perspective of our Park City market, we start the value engineering up front.
Mhm.
Everybody has a budget. I don't care if you're building $1 million home or a $10 million home. The design matters. So the design, the spacing, the materials selected, especially for the exterior and all, it all matters. So one of the big differences between the two markets in which we're working is, and I know you are also very active with the architects up front, but most all of our value engineering in that market, Melody, happens early on during the upfront communication and trying to decide the size and finish materials, because many of the developments in which we're building have certain requirements. So we have very little that we can do from a value engineering standpoint. People know that if I'm going to build in this community, my budget needs to be in this price range anyway. However, the St. Louis market is quite a bit different, where you do stay very active up front with trying to understand what the client's budget is, trying to align the size of the house, the finished materials with that budget. But then I also know that there are many times that clients come back to you and the architect saying, okay, well, we want this and we want that and we want to add this and we want to change that.
Right.
How do you handle that? Because I know what's happening is the cost of the budget is going up every time you have those conversations.
Right. And so that's important in that process to, number one, understand the client's budget and what their limitations are and what their desires are, because there's a difference between that's really where we have to stay and this is really where we want to stay, because you need to present those extras as you see them rise up, that, hey, you increased the square footage, or, this finish is a very high-end finish and it's going to add this cost to our projected budget. So you want to have those clients make those decisions as they go with an understanding of what those costs are and approving those as you go, and not get all the way to the end of the design process and realize that has happened on multiple aspects. And all of a sudden we've added $20,000 for this and $60,000 for this and $80,000 for this. And all of a sudden we've added $400,000 without realizing it. So it's all about really addressing those as you see them come up and helping the client make an informed decision, whether do we cut that now or do we keep that in and we know that we're going to spend more money than we originally budgeted.
When do you recommend starting the value engineering process? If you say your builder doesn't have it built into their process, when would the time be to start suggesting that maybe you look at refining the layout and things like that?
Sure. I think 2 different phases. I think before somebody starts designing a home with an architect, they should at least have a handle on what they want and what that building cost is going to look like from a custom home perspective. And then from there, once you have that, then you want to have the architect a game plan when he starts. And then when you get that floor plan back, that's when you need to say, okay, here's our floor plan, here's our preliminary elevations. That's when you look for those red flags. Hey, this is bigger than we talked about, or these finishes that you're showing here are very expensive. Do we want to do this or do we want to change that now? But during that, when you're getting that floor plan and those elevations worked through, that's when you really need to start paying attention.
So Melody, as you can tell, what this comes down to is find a builder who communicates exceptionally well. It's going to save you time and it's going to save you a lot of money with the architect if your builder is engaged in helping you make smart decisions on that design all the way through. Otherwise, what could happen, and Chris, this has happened with us several times over the past couple of years, we've had disappointed, not because of us, disappointed clients come back in with plans that have been drawn, and these homes have been anywhere from 20 to 50% over their budget, and they're very frustrated, they're very disappointed. Yet you have been able to successfully take those plans, value engineer them, and get them back to within a budget.
Right. And that comes down to helping them look at what are the points of that plan that are driving the budget. What are the recommended areas that we could possibly make cuts, and what are the ramifications of that? But it also comes down to helping that client make priorities, because you're going to have to make some hard choices. Are we going to do a much less complicated roof and simplify the design? It won't look as ornate maybe from the street, but maybe this is a house that you don't see from the street, and that's not really a problem. So it's really coming through and itemizing the things. Here's a list of all the things where we could possibly redesign and save costs, and then prioritizing which ones would you like to consider and which ones are a hard no. We want to keep that aspect of the home and work around it.
You mentioned red flags that you immediately, and I've seen both of you look at plans and say, oh, this is a red flag. This is. So can you give me kind of a couple of red flags in each market that you guys, when you look at a plan, you automatically know this can be simplified and save money?
Simplified is the perfect word. And you don't want to simplify a plan to the point where you lose that custom look, right? But a lot of times homes are overly complicated without reason. You can over-design, say, a roof system and add this angle or that angle and this element. Or a perfect example is the roof pitch. I mean, you can design a house where it's got the main roof pitch is a 12-12, which is much more expensive than, say, an 8 or a 10-12 on your trusses and your roof sheathing. So a less steep roof is going to save money. And when you have the architect change the elevation and look at it from head on, it looks almost exactly the same. So overly complicated framing or foundation or just footprint that just adds unnecessary corners and bumps, and all that adds up to costs in a hurry.
In the Park City market, Melody, really it comes down to the developments in which we're building, the 2 Hays of the world, the Marcellas and the Sky Ridges. Those people kind of know what they're getting into when they decide we're going to build in these markets. There's a certain perceived cost of the home, there's a style, there's a design, but what can really drive costs and what I pay attention to very quickly, to be honest with you, number one is the lot. Is it a downhill build or is it an uphill build? And building in the mountains, you have one or the other. You very rarely have a flat level lot. So downhill build obviously is budget friendly, not as much excavation and material export as an uphill build. Number two is take a look at the site plan. What's going on with the retaining walls that are required with the particular structure that we're trying to build. We're working on a project right now that has retaining walls down both sides of the driveway and then substantial retaining walls around back. Those are huge cost drivers. Is it going to be poured concrete walls faced with the same stone as the exterior of the house? Is it going to be engineered boulder wall? Big difference between those two costs. Then I look at things like, okay, what are the exterior materials? Again, all of the developments have design codes. They have an architectural review board and they've set standards that you have to design to. But is it a composite roof? Is it a metal roof? What's your siding? Is it a cedar siding or is it reclaimed wood? What type of stone? How much stone? So those are the things that we will look for and discuss with the architect up front when they're designing in the Park City market.
I have a question because you said uphill build or a downhill build. If I'm standing at the top of the hill, it's a downhill build. But if I'm standing at the bottom of the hill, it's an uphill build. So can
100%.
You define that?
Yeah, no, you're right. That's exactly what it is. If you're looking up at the hill, it's an uphill build. If you're looking down at the grade, it's a downhill build.
So from the front door?
Yeah.
Okay, from the front
street.
of the house.
From the street, standing on the street.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. No, it's a good question because it's something that we use terminology all the time in our profession, and sometimes people don't understand it. I will tell people if you're looking to build, especially in a mountainous area, uphill builds are really going to drive your construction costs simply because of the site work that's required.
I'd love to dig a little bit into the energy efficiency.
I like what you did there. Dig a little bit.
I know. I'm really into dirt this season. I want to talk about the energy efficiency and the high performance aspects. How does value engineering impact that or does it? And what are your thoughts on
It's a
balancing that?
good question there.
Yeah, that's a great question. And actually, it's one that I was hoping we would discuss because value engineering, it doesn't always involve cost savings. So, value engineering, when you're talking about building a high performance home or a green home, and so you are already considering upgrades in things like your insulation package and your air seal package and your windows and your houses and your
HVAC system
HVAC equipment.
specifically.
And so a lot of that comes down to really taking a deep dive into here's a really good system, here's a very efficient system. And a lot of times when we value engineer, we're talking about upgrades and how does that look? Is it smart money that you're spending? So, if you do this upgrade, and a lot of times what climate zone, it's a completely different climate zone in Park City than we have here in St. Louis, and it's completely different if you're building in Minnesota. You want to take those energy upgrades and say, hey, here's what this upgrade costs. Here's the benefits of it. We like to recruit our energy raters here in St. Louis to help us sometimes with this and say, okay, here's what we're considering. Tell us, is this something that is going to pay for itself in 5 years? Is this something that's going to pay for itself in 10 years? Or is it 40 years till we cover this upgrade, in which case that's not a very smart investment. So a lot of times it's weighing the benefits of that upgrade. And there are other benefits besides financial and energy savings. Hey, this is going to be a quieter, because we're going to do this upgraded HVAC system. It's going to be quieter and it runs. So there are intangibles there. But you really want to consider, is it a smart investment? And some of that comes down to, like when you're talking about energy efficiency, is what is the focus of the house? Some folks, their whole focus on their home is carbon footprint. Weigh all of those options together when you're talking about those upgrades, because it's value engineering can have to do with, hey, we're going to spend a little bit more money, but let's make sure we spend that smartly.
Chris is right. We take that portion of our budgeting and our build very seriously, and we're always looking to build the best possible homes. But that payback period should not exceed 7 years, or to Chris's point, it really doesn't make a lot of sense. But there are ways that you, for example, take a look at an HVAC system. The way we build many of our homes, we'll have one furnace system, if you will, that has automated dampers, so we could have 2 or 3 zones off of one system. So if you think about it, how do most HVAC contractors give you zones? They do it with multiple systems. So if we have one larger system that is zoning through dampers versus 3 systems, you can say that we are saving money even though we're building a little bit better. So these are all the things that we talk with our clients about, talk with our contractors about, and try to help our clients understand, okay, if we're going to spend a little bit less than on a really good upgraded HVAC system that has 3 zones, spend a little bit less there. Let's spend a little bit more on our insulation package. Let's strategically use foam where we can air seal and insulate. Let's use a blown-in fiberglass system instead of just the fiberglass bats. Let's upgrade our insulation in the attic. So it's a holistic approach of how we look to build our homes in both markets.
As someone who just replaced their HVAC system, I think I would just absolutely lose my mind having to replace 3 of them.
That's a good point.
So one of the sustainability pieces that people don't often think about is the lifetime of materials that go into a home. And so the most expensive material isn't always necessarily the most durable as well. And so can you tell me a little bit about how we approach materials and that balance between durability, expense, and all of that?
Yeah, there are a lot of really high quality building materials now. Even things that we didn't have access to 10 years ago. I mean, there's been a lot of good upgrades. Most of the really good materials are more on the more expensive side, to be completely frank. But
Okay.
there is a quality there, like let's say for trim boards. Everybody used to trim their garage doors out with a pine board wrapped in aluminum. Aluminum, from a durability standpoint, that gets beat up and it gets damaged, or in the pine board where if it touches the concrete can rot. So now we use a product called Boral when we trim our doors out, and it's a great product. You don't have to worry about the bike denting it. It's about knowing your materials and coming up with a good mix of things that are going to be very durable and last, not only from hey, it's not going to rot, but obviously you don't want to break your budget doing that material, using it where it's not appropriate. But you do
Right.
want to make smart choices about that and things that are going to not only last and not wear out, but things that are going to look good for a long time.
And another perfect example of that would be like on the interior of your home. If you have long hallways, or if you have a 2-story great room, if you're using conventional dimensional lumber, right, a 2x4 or 2x6, which can warp and twist depending upon how moisture levels and things like that, we a lot of times are going to recommend our clients think about engineered material for some of these very important tall walls or walls that you really want to have straight, because engineered materials are going to perform much better, and you're not going to have the same warping and twisting that you would with dimensional lumber. So again, it comes down to just trusting your professional, trusting your builder. But if we can help people understand that these options are out there, so a lot of times people put them in kitchens because of the kitchen cabinetry. You want them along a wall that's long and straight. There's a lot of tricks to the trade, and that's why finding that right builder, a builder who does not mind communicating with you and helping you understand what your choices are, that's the way to go.
And that's where that value component, it's getting the most out of your money. It's not.
You are getting the most out of your money if you're willing to pay just a little bit more for engineered material, boral trim, HVAC, insulation. You're absolutely getting more value for the money you're spending.
Yeah, value doesn't always mean less expensive.
Yeah, because it also translates into, what is the maintenance required? Boral is a perfect example of very low maintenance. Maybe pay a little bit more now, but if you're not having to maintain it, we could go on and on. There's all sorts of materials that we could mention, but it's that same idea.
So if your builder doesn't offer a value engineering meeting to sit down and go through all of these pieces or, just isn't familiar with the process, what do you recommend someone do as they're entering the custom construction process?
In a best case scenario, I would say find that builder that does offer that service. If that's a struggle, if you can't, I would say that comes down to really the size and complexity of the project. If it's a expensive project and it's a bigger project and it's a big piece of ground, I think it's worth the money to reach out and find a consultant and somebody that can help you through that process. If you don't have a builder, if you're going to design a home with an architect and you haven't even selected a builder yet, it's worth your effort to find a consultant to help you value engineer that project. It'll pay off in the long run.
And that's a really good question to ask up front of your builder is talk to us about value engineering. What's your definition? How do you work with your clients? Because if someone was to ask me or Chris that question, we could go on and on for a long time talking about it. But a builder who does not want to have that conversation is probably not going to be a good fit for you either. That's just my opinion. Other builders are going to be out there that might listen to this that disagree, but this is who we are. This is how we do things. I think that we've had a really good run of 21 years, some wonderful clients, some wonderful projects. This is how we operate. I know many other builders operate the same way. It's our recommendation only. Melody, I think we did a good job of covering most everything in this value engineering conversation. The one thing that I would bring up, and this is something that we use in both markets, is we try to have a wants, needs, and wishes list, right? And those lists, if you have those lists completely filled out, many architects are going to have a similar document that they want you to fill out. Those are critical. Take the time to fill them out completely and honestly, because that will start the conversation up front as far as, okay, you want to build a $2 million home or a $1 million home, but your wants, needs, and wishes list is 10 pages long. The two may not meet in the middle anywhere. So that is something that I think take the time to really get with your builder and with your architect and tell them specifically what those are. Prioritize. Chris has used that word a couple of times. Prioritize things that you have to have, that you want, and that I really don't need those. That really is where the whole value engineering starts, is if you have honest and open information with your builder and your architect that you can share.
Because we're not dealing with unlimited budgets here. Let's be
Nobody
honest,
is.
guys. Yeah.
No, I mean, we've
that.
got some very large homes being built in Park City. Every single one of our clients has a budget. Every single one of our clients in St. Louis, Chris, you're working with a budget. And share that budget open and honestly with your builder up front, with your architect up front, and work together as a team to pull off the build.
Well, thanks for joining us, Chris, and shedding some light on it. It's great talking to you, Kim, about how it's different in Park City. But I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of overlap. And so, being able to find a similar process throughout the country is going to be easy.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Just like a great travel agent helps you fine-tune your itinerary for the best experience, value engineering helps us shape your home to reflect what matters most without overcomplicating the journey. It's not about giving things up. It's about making sure every detail serves a purpose, supports your goals, and respects your investment. We hope today's episode gave you a clearer picture of how the smartest homes are designed with the big picture in mind, balancing your lifestyle, design vision, and budget to create a better build and a home you'll love living in for years to come.
Did today's episode get you thinking about your dream home? Have any questions about the design or value engineering process? Bring those questions to us. We can respond directly, and it could even inspire an upcoming episode. You can email us at podcast@hibbshomes.com. Leave a message at 844-HIBBS20 or find our Reddit community, Art of Custom Building.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you again soon.
Be sure to subscribe to get the latest episodes, and please rate and review. The Art of Custom is produced by Hug Monster Sound with original music by Adam Frickfordine. Thanks for listening.